All right, and we begin. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:16 p.m. Welcome. Good afternoon, everybody, for coming to today's meeting on November 22nd, 2021. This meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be available on our PRNC YouTube page, as well as our webpage, prnc.org. All meeting attendees will be automatically muted when they join the meeting. Attendees may address the board in one or two situations. Number one, comment on an agenda item, or number two, provide general public comment. After each agenda item is read out loud and before the board vote is taken on that item, if any, I will ask if any member of the public wishes to address the board regarding the agenda item being considered. At that time, the meeting attendees can electronically raise their hand to speak. This may be done in two ways. If you are attending the meeting using a telephone only, or if you are attending the meeting via a computer or tablet, but still using a telephone for audio, you may raise your hand by dialing *9 on your phone. That will prompt the presiding officer that you wish to speak. If you are attending the meeting using a computer or tablet only, and thus using the computer tablet built-in microphone, then you raise your hand by using the raise hand function in Zoom, and I will see that you wish to speak. I will go down the list of those who raise their hands, turn on their audio one at a time, and ask him or her to go ahead and provide comment within a specific time period. When a speaker's time expires, I will let the speaker know that his or her time has expired, thank them for their comment, and turn off the audio for the speaker. This process will continue until all attendees who raise their hands spoken. At that time, the board will discuss the motion and take a vote if they choose. For public comment, as noted in the meeting agenda, there is an item dedicated to public comment on the items not on the agenda, but within the purview of the board. When the item comes up during the course of the meeting, I will ask if any member of the public wishes to address the board regarding any issues that are not on the agenda, but is within the domain of the board's actions and capabilities. At that time, the meeting attendees can electronically raise their hand to speak using the same procedures described above. Please note that under the Browns Act, the board is prevented from discussing or acting on a matter that is brought to its attention during the general comment period. However, the issue raised by a member of the public comment or public may become the subject of a future board meeting. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker unless adjusted by the presiding officer at his or her discretion. But for today's meeting, I want to iterate, due to time constraint, I need all public comments to be no more than 2 minutes. And Jason, if you can keep tabs on the times, that would be great. Let's start with roll call. I know our secretary is driving right now, and the last thing I want is for her to take roll. I will do that roll call for her. Let's start with roll call. Let me make sure everybody is in the meeting from participants. Perfect. All right, David Lasher. Absent. David Balin is absent. Hilda.
Here.
Thank you. Jason.
Here.
Thank you. Lewis is absent. Becky.
Here.
Thank you. Brandy.
Here.
Thank you. Jennifer. She will be here in a couple of minutes. She did alert me she was running a couple of minutes late. Voss.
Here.
Thank you. Christine.
Here.
Thank you. And Gabriel, I am here. We have 7 currently, and we do have a quorum. Thank you. Let's move forward with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, Jason, is your daughter here, or should I lead it?
No.
All righty, I'll lead the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody can stand up, put your hand on your heart, and let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Next is President's comments. Board, I want to say I'm very proud of all of you. Last week's meeting was awesome, at the least. I saw so much motivation, positivity, energy from everyone. Keep it up. We had great ideas, great enthusiasm for all the committees, and let's go. Let's make this happen. This is for the community, and I look forward to 2022. Awesome, awesome meeting. Next item is updates from representatives of elected officials and city departments. Is anybody here from any city departments that would like to speak? Anthony, would you like to speak on anything? Thank you. 1 second, please. Anthony, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Anthony Angelini. I am the constituent affairs person for your state assemblywoman, Suzette Valadares. I understand you will be approving the letter from the View Ridge Townhomes in Porter Ranch later on in this meeting, and I will reserve some comments for that. But I do want to say that it's very important that the assemblywoman thinks it's very important that I attend these meetings. We do want to build a great relationship with you, and it's important for me that you understand that the district office has resources, and those resources are available to your neighborhood council. So we are your voice in the state, and we do have liaisons at every state agency that takes our calls. So if just like this thing that we're going to be talking about later, this is exactly the type of thing that our office can not handle, but definitely liaison with. So yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself. Maybe if you could drop my email or something in the comment. Oh, there is no comment thing. But our resources are available to you, and that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. And looking forward to working with your office very closely as well. Thank you. If you want, you can announce the email address and I can type it on in the question and answers.
Great. My name is Anthony Angelini, and my email is anthony.angelini@asm.ca.gov.
Thank you, Anthony. I will post that in the questions and answers in a couple of minutes.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question for Anthony?
Go ahead.
So I don't know. I think there was it true that the assemblywoman was on the budget committee or something? You said a while back, maybe at a couple of me. What committees is the assemblywoman on?
So the assemblywoman is the vice chair of the arts, entertainment, sports, tourism, and internet media committee. I do think that she sits on the budget committee, but she doesn't have a leadership position in it.
Yeah, I thought so.
And she also sits on a few committees. So since we are in the minority in the assembly, they put her on several, which I can get for you.
No, that's okay. I was particularly wondering about the budget, because everything comes down to budget in a lot of ways. And when the Caltrans issue comes up, a lot of times we'll hear, it's a budget thing. But my understanding is the state has money, and but anyways, we'll save that discussion for the item.
She is a member of the budget committee.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Any other questions or comments before we move on? We do not. Thank you, Anthony. And
Thank you.
We'll talk in a few minutes. All right, let's move on. Any other public officials here? Please raise your hand. I do not see any, so we can move on. With next item is item number 5, public comments on items not on the agenda and within the purview of the board. Please raise your hand. And I got Assad. Assad, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, members of the board. I just wanted to recognize and thank the LAPD SLOs at Devonshire Station. Last Saturday, actually a week ago, the November 13, we had some teenagers shooting guns at E.T. Park, then to the Holly Burnson. And by the time they got to the Holly Burnson Park, the air support already had captured all that, and within a few minutes we had the 3 black and whites and arrested the teenagers and stopped further shooting. And I just wanted to recognize that and to say thank you to our Devonshire LAPD. Thank you.
Thank you, Assad. Any other public comments?
We have one in QA.
Okay, I'm interested in reestablishing the Porter Ranch Youth Council to better support the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. Would the Neighborhood Council be open to supporting the endeavor? Yes, so we do have a Porter Ranch Youth Council or Youth Committee. And if you can provide,
I can answer that, Gabriel.
Jason.
I was talking to Madison at the event that the youth committee did at the environmental awareness, and she is planning on having a meeting, and Madison and Mahima are the chairs of that committee. So I'll forward your the email that we got to the board over to Madison and Mahima, but they are planning to have a meeting. I think they just get busy sometimes, so.
Thank you, Jason. I see Glenn Bailey has his hand up, and Glenn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Glenn Bailey. I'm not sure if at your retreat, I mentioned the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils, so I'll just do really quickly. Just to the next meeting, which is second Thursday of December, which is December 9th. We are having the commander for the Valley, Los Angeles Police Department, sorry, his official title, I think is Deputy Chief for the Valley. And it's actually a return appearance and follow up from the conversation. So, you know, he oversees all of the police divisions in the Valley. So I just want to make sure you were aware of that schedule. And then in conjunction with that, the communication to try to get the chief of police to come. Just a heads up that he is scheduled for the February meeting, second Thursday of February, chief of police for the city. I think that's it for now, and I'll be on. I'm not sure if Brian's on, but I will be on for item number 10 if he's not here.
Thank you, Glenn, and Brian is on. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other public comments from the public? All right. Next item is item number 6, treasurer's report. Jason?
Oops, got on mute. Okay. So here's the portal, and we have net available 31, 127. Not much going on really, but our budget is on the left. Our right is what we spent. So that's pretty much it. Not much to report. Everything is all in order. Everything's been paid, and we're all set.
Thank you, Jason. Anybody have any questions or comments? Attendees, any comments there? All right, we can move on. Thank you, Jason. Next item is yours again, Jason, which is the MER.
What are we looking at?
Jason, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. So here are the expenditures, storage, name tags, board shirts, YMCA. This was for the chamber. We had Wendy for, looks like September, October. And that's for business cards. And then these are just outstanding stuff that hasn't been cashed, I guess. Checks that are still outstanding. So that's about it. And then these are just the receipts. Any questions?
No questions from the board. Any attendees questions? Nope. You want to make the motion?
All right, I'll make the motion to approve the October 21 MER.
Thank you. I'll second that motion.
And
Any-
this is the vote sheet I'll need, Gabriel. So if you can send it to me.
You got it,
Thank you.
of course. All right, any comments before I call the vote? All right, let's move on.
We have to vote. I
Yeah,
forget.
David Latcher is absent. David Balin is absent. Hilda,
Approve.
thank you. Jason,
Yes.
thank you. Louis is absent. Becky,
Approved.
thank you. Brandy,
Approved.
thank you. Jennifer, is she here yet? Not yet. Absent. Voss,
Approved.
thank you. Christine,
Approved.
thank you. Gabriel, yes, and motion passes. Thank you, everyone. All right, next item is updates by budget advocates. Brian Allen. Let's bring you in. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you.
For anyone who doesn't know who I am Brian Allen, and I am with Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council. I am one of the 3 budget advocates for Region 2. As you just heard earlier, Glenn Bailey is on. I believe Gary Fordyce is also on, and those 2 and myself round out the budget advocates. If anybody has questions about what the budget advocates do, because you're new to the board or you just don't know, feel free to ask. There isn't much I can say about current updates. We, the budget advocates committees, are meeting with departments, and those meetings have been going on. There will be recommendations made pretty soon from those conversations. However, I suspect that there will be many that don't get made yet, because none of the departments were able to share their budgets yet when we had our meetings, or some of the meetings, because they weren't due until the 19th, and at that point they could make them public. But having said that, the budget for this year among all the departments the edict was to keep it the same as last year. So they're all trying to do that, and trying to look at their budgets and try and figure out how they can best use the same money in maybe different ways, and in some cases that's necessary. I know I was on 4 or 5 committee departments, and they went pretty smooth, but there was no dollars and cents to talk about. So we don't have a lot to say on that. I would also continue to say that if anybody has any specific concerns or issues, you certainly are welcome to contact me or any of the 3, Glenn Bailey or Gary Fordyce, to ask questions or present your desire to have issues addressed with the departments that we meet with. And I think that's about all I have, besides just fielding questions if you have them. If Glenn would like to weigh in on anything, because Glenn is the chair, is one of the co-chairs, and I did not meet the last meeting, so I can't tell you. I was unable to meet it, so I can't tell you if anything unique happened there. But I'll give Glenn a chance if he'd like to, and certainly be here to answer any questions.
Briefly, Brian, thank you. There were no dramatic actions taken, but I do want to just mention a few things. First of all, the department reports get compiled together for the white paper, and we are shooting for a distribution, hopefully beginning of January. That's the goal. So stay tuned. Every neighborhood council and board member gets an electronic copy of that. And secondly, I think I may have announced, or Brian may have announced, that our annual budget day is scheduled for Saturday, June 18th. So please put that date in your calendar. I'm assuming you've got your 2022 calendar, if it's not electronic. And related to that, at our last meeting, we did agree that we're going to have a planning meeting for that event prior to our mid-December meeting. And so I welcome anyone who wishes to participate with that or to provide input in terms of the format. We changed the format up this year with the plenary session with the citywide speakers, then doing a panel. So if you have any thoughts about that or suggestions or speaker suggestions, we're open to that. So we're going to have that meeting after Thanksgiving and before the middle of December when we have our next meeting. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn and Brian. Any board members have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I'll go next. So we had some department meetings. Glenn was on the Recs and Parks meeting, which I thought went very well. We met with the general manager, and one of the things that he's agreed to is to do quarterly meetings with us, as they're divided into 4 divisions. There's 4 superintendents, and one of the issues that we're obviously bringing up, and to answer Brian's question in priorities, we mentioned the fires, right, and the brush clearance in the parks is always something that we're concerned about. So those issues have been brought up, and continue to work on making progress on reducing the dead wood, the dead brush and debris that's left over from the fires in the parks. So we had a very good meeting for the Recs and Parks. We also had a meeting with ITA, which is a technology division, relating to 311. And so it was very nice to meet with the city departments. We also met with the fire department as well, and talking about the same kind of issues. So behind the scenes, it was enjoyable to work with the budget advocates in that respect. So I just wanted to share bringing those issues to the departments directly. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason. I see Brandy has her hand up.
Yeah.
Brandy, go for it.
Glenn, I was wondering, you were talking about looking for guest speakers. Would it be possible for you to send out an email that we can refer people to or respond to?
Repeat that question, sorry.
Glenn was mentioning a request for speakers, ideas for speakers, and I was asking if he can send out an email that we can forward or send to.
Glenn?
Well, I'm not going to put this out to all 1,800 folks, but I just, since I know there's great participation for Porter Ranch and many of you attended, I just wanted to let you know that, that we're taking that input. So you're welcome to email Brian and myself and Gary with any thoughts you have. We always invite the mayor, the city controller, the chair of the city council budget and finance committee. And then what we do beyond that, we've got, some time to do that. So
I'm sure I have your email somewhere.
You do. Well, yeah, I've emailed you, so I'm sure you've got it.
Yes.
Thanks.
Fine.
Thank you. Any other board members have any comments? All right, attendees, I see Ron Nagai. Ron Nagai, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and happy holidays to everyone on the board and the community. I just had a quick question since we were talking about rec and parks. We've had on the table for over a year now the naming of the park, and then I had a suggestion in there that the amphitheater one of the suggestions was that the Native Americans name be put on the amphitheater. My suggestion was have some sponsor's name on the amphitheater that can provide funds for various type of events, just general events and cultural events, and help pay for that at the park. And it's gone absolutely nowhere to my knowledge. I just was curious if we can move forward on that. So this coming spring and summer, we can have some entertainment at no cost to the community. And
Thank
the
you.
park should be named by now. I mean, I think it's clear that the community already voted for Porter Ranch Community Park, so that should be the name of the park. And we should have a sponsor for the amphitheater so that we can have them fundraise to pay for entertainment there for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Have you reached out to CD12 regarding this?
Myself, no.
Okay, if you can
No,
drop,
they were not receptive. They haven't done anything moved at all since we talked to them over a year ago.
gotcha. Yeah, I have not heard anything much more about the park renaming, so I'll try to get more information for the meeting on the 8th.
Okay, and can it be agendized to maybe get us some sort of corporate sponsor for the amphitheater so that we can have various cultural events and general entertainment paid for by a number of sponsors?
All right, let me find out the status of the park naming first, and then we can take it from there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right,
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Gabriel. I appreciate it very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. One second.
I think Craig wanted to share. Craig, you should be able to share screen. There's a green button on the bottom.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the button and I don't have it. So I believe that I'm only unmuted.
Here we go.
There
I
we
just
go.
made
Join
you
as
panelist.
guest.
You should
I will
have-
make the transition and I go mute for a moment.
You got it.
Okay, I am back. Okay to go forward?
Go for it.
Okay, you know, if it's okay with the president, I'd like to ask that we take poll the board, if this is okay with you, Gabriel, if we could possibly flip-flop Nordella's conversation after the community next steps. So I guess it's items 12 and 13, I believe.
So you're requesting to move item number 10 after 13? No, after 12, you mean, correct?
I'd like to move Dr. Nordella to the third position.
Okay.
please.
Any board members object?
It'll make more sense as we go through this.
Okay, with no objection, done.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for giving me a few minutes tonight. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Craig Galante and I'm your elected Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council CAG member. And I'm so grateful that you guys are host disabled partnering participant screen sharing. So if you could open up screen sharing for participants, please, I will jump right in. Anyway, I am the elected representative of the CAG for Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. Still not enabled yet. So if you go to share screen and then multiple participants, I think is the choice. There we go. Thank you. Okay. So you guys can see the screen, correct? Okay, great. So for over the past 2 years, the CAG on behalf of the community has been exceptionally clear on what the medical needs are and what we believe the community morally deserves in a health setting. And I'm going to sum it up by, and I did this quote on the last meeting. If you recall, there was a front page article in the LA Times on October 3rd. And a resident, a stakeholder, Anna, was quoted in the LA Times as her and her husband, as along with their 2 children, a 1- and 3-year-old at the time, had to flee Porter Ranch, like many of us did, to escape the toxic exposures. her story and her family story gets pretty bad. And I want to share it with you because it brings it home. So her husband was diagnosed with testicular cancer in the months after the leak. And then Azimi, the wife, was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2019. So she was quoted, and you have to feel sorry for this family. This is just terrible, but it's a sample of our stakeholders. And what I thought was, maybe so impressed with her was the quote that she offered the LA Times was this right here. She asked that she hopes that the study, I'm trying to get my pointer here. Well, anyway, it's not working. So she hopes that the study will identify the harms of exposures and allow doctors, her own and others, to be able to advise their families on preventative care. And that is exactly what we have been asking for and believe we morally deserve, to know what we're exposed to and what the harmful health impacts are. And we're 2 years into this. And the CAG, if you guys have seen this before, but it deserves an update on where we are. So the CAG is an advocate in advising DPH on what the community wants, asked for very specific fundamental things be put in place in order to do a quality health study. And I don't need to go through all of these, but there's the ongoing air monitoring, which is still not happening. The chemical list, the Department of Public Health has subpoena authority. They could demand this of the gas company, yet they refuse to. We've asked for a CBC study follow-up. We've only gotten a partial, very little of what we requested, and that's 24 months out. Every one of these on the bar chart is months in delay. So these are all fundamental health study elements that we as a CAG really push to get. A cancer registry study. There is the radiation investigation in the communities. The only thing that's materialized is the community survey, and that took 4 months, which we thought was longer than we had hoped. But the moral is, or the punchline here is, there's 22.3 months in arrears of getting these fundamental building blocks together for the health study. So I am going to be a little redundant. I apologize, but there are some new members on the board. So what are the top concerns of the CAG and Community Advisory Group? There's no chemical list. We do not, to this day, what's above my head, do not know what we've been exposed to. And DPH refuses to subpoena the group that would know what we were exposed to, and that's SoCalGas. In addition, the path that DPH has done historically, and we believe that they are on, is using air monitoring evidence to be able to estimate or guesstimate what we've been exposed to. Now, this process is highly flawed. You don't have to take my word for it. There is a group, and I talked to you about this the last meeting, the couple past meetings as well. The CCST, the California Center for Science and Technology, is a think tank that is a consultant group to Sacramento. And they analyzed all the information that was made available. And they concluded that the air monitoring is flawed and it's not usable for what is typically called a health risk assessment. And the reasons why are right there. In conservancy of time, I'm not going to get into them. We've also made compelling arguments to DPH to do some ongoing investigation of not just the blowout, but the ongoing exposures. There's fugitive emissions that we know are coming from Aliso Canyon. We have asked them repeatedly to get out here and measure them and keep us abreast of what's going on. DPH has some responsibility. The air monitoring has others. That is slightly outside of DPH's jurisdiction. But DPH own study identified that there are ongoing fugitive emissions. We've also asked for in-community radiation evaluations. That has not happened. The bottom line is we still do not know what we were exposed to. And what does that mean? That means it's left up to trying to figure out what was in the air. I already told you, the think tank in Sacramento says the air monitoring is garbage. Garbage in, garbage out on any scientific study. In fact, this was also in that article about our stakeholder that her and her husband both have cancer. This was a quote from Michael Jarrett, who is a well-known professor of health sciences and environmental sciences out of UCLA. And he's been involved since day one of the blowout. And this quote is very important, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. There really isn't great, this quote, there just isn't really great scientific literature on what that length of exposure can mean for the formation of long-term health effects. He's referring exactly to ELISA. And he goes on to say in the last two lines, going back now and reconstructing the exposure is a really complicated and uncertain task. So even this guy, a leader in his industry, is saying this is very, very difficult to do and an uncertain task. So what does this leave us with? The proper way to assess what potentially could harm us is to do clinical evaluations, and they are necessary. Because as Dr. Jared pointed out, and Dr. Nordella pointed out from the very beginning, the literature is not there for the combination or the synergistic effects of the polytoxins which we are exposed to. Science can tell you, don't be exposed to more benzene than this, or don't get exposed to more acrolein than this. But they can't tell us, the literature does not tell us what happens when you're exposed to both of them and you throw in 4 other sulfides and other harmful toxins. There's no literature. So the prudent thing to do is to do clinical evaluations. And we pleaded with public health for over 2 years to do clinical. Yet the goals and priorities document that was seen by this board, and the current members did not get a chance to look at it, does not include a requirement for clinical evaluations. The goals and priorities as we got them, which is going to lead to the RFP, which is going to lead to the actual study itself, so it's the precursor to everything else, and this is critically important, was not accepted by the community. It was unanimously rejected by the CAG. It was also unanimously rejected by this NC, as well as all other area NCs. And an unprecedented amount of folks wrote in, over 400 in writing, opposed the goals and priorities as presented to the community. So what happened? So DPH not only ignored the advice of what really is 27 months now of the CAG's involvement, but DPH also refused to revise the study's goals and priorities to represent the overwhelming demands of this harmed community. They flat out refused to require clinical evaluations. And in our opinion, and we think you share this opinion, the clinical evaluations are not optional in the upcoming health study. Because if you don't know what the elements of exposure were, and you're going to guesstimate the air exposure, and there's no literature to support how much of this in this cocktail, the only thing you really should do is a clinical evaluation. And if they refuse to do this, a logical, prudent person who is informed, in the CAG's opinion, can only come away with the following conclusions. The DPH in the SOX path is not science-based, but politically driven. The study is intended to whitewash the short and long-term health impacts of the worst methane and polytoxin release in US history. I mean, this is serious stuff, folks. And no other explanation that this was orchestrated by a politically captured DPH, which is in direct conflict with their mission statement to protect the public's health. So what does this leave us with? The CAG has advised DPH and the SOC through DPH of the community's concerns repeatedly. DPH has refused to subpoena SoCal Gas for the critical information, just flat out refuses, no explanation why. DPH refuses to ensure that the health study will be clinically based. It goes on, because now we're getting muted. DPH put the CAG meetings on hiatus because, as they refer to it, they're in the RFP development process and they want to go silent. Everything that we've gotten from DPH suggests that the study is at least a year away from actually commencing. So that'll put us out 7 years. And if you're trying to look at air monitoring, which is a flawed science, 7 years later, I think we all can realize the conclusions will be, we don't see anything because we never even took a temperature or a blood pressure or a CBC or a pulmonary exam of the residents that were impacted. This is so bad that the CAG took it upon itself to poll the community. And many of you have seen this slide before, but it's worth repeating. On the far left is Department of Public Health's own survey. And when they asked people about if they knew of the blowout or not, a great portion had no idea of what the blowout was. And they are on the far left. So we've got them as the least aware of what happened. And on the far right is the groups that are most aware of the situation of the blowout, as well as what DPH has been doing. And we asked them, what's your confidence level on the path that DPH is currently on? It's not to dismiss DPH completely, but it's just to assess, are you confident in the path that they're on currently on the health study? And overwhelmingly in orange is no, overwhelmingly, including unanimously by all the adjacent NCs, which are the ones in the middle. I'm going to move along because we're running out of time. So who is responsible for this? We've shifted the weight. It's no longer, oh, it's DPH, because that's just this general, big, large body. We've decided that we need to make call out to people and make stakeholders aware of who's making these decisions, whose hands is our fate in. And it's really these 5 people. Catherine Barger oversees the Department of Public Health as the chairman of the Board of Supervisors. And then there are 4 individuals that are critical to how this study is going to be conducted. Barbara Ferrer, who you see on TV, we're talking about the COVID issues. There's the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Muntu Davis, the Chief Science Officer, Paul Simon, and the Director, Charlene Contreras. These are the 5 people that are responsible for the situation that we're in and to go forward. I also want to share with you as part of this update, since I learned from the last meeting that I had with you, that the Department of Public Health has spent $1.2 million already on the health study. Remember, it's only 25 million. So 1.2 million has already been spent. We asked for details of how this money has been spent because honestly, the CAG cannot account for it. We do not see it. We do not see the impacts anywhere close to $1.2 million of our money. And we did not get an answer. So this leaves the CAG not only incredibly not confident of the future, but we've also been muted. And we don't know when the CAG meetings will pick back up. That's my update, and I leave it open to Q&A for anybody that has anything.
Thank you, Craig. Any board members have any comments or questions? I see attendee. I have Assad with a question. Assad, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hi, Craig. How are you doing?
Hi, Assad. Good to hear from you.
Can you elaborate more on where we are with the monitoring system so that the board and the community is sort of up to speed? Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to, but there's 2 issues. I personally have not heard of any updates at all. The CAG is not actively involved in shepherding the air monitoring because it's not with Department of Public Health. It's with the AQMD. And CAG members, including Patty, has been a real champion for the community in asking, where are we with this? And she got an answer in an email. If Patty's on, maybe she can chime in. Probably 6 months ago that they were working on it and they were close. Remember, those were supposed to be implemented in June or July. And we haven't even had the community meeting to lay out what the plan is yet. So if there's something the board wants to get involved in regarding ELISO, air monitoring is you could drive a truck through the opening here. That's the only answer I have. Maybe somebody else has more information.
No, great answer. And thanks for sharing. And this is what I wanted the board and the community to know, that we're almost at stall or paused situation, and we need to empower the CAG to proceed further. Thanks.
Thank you, Assad. Becky, you have a question?
Yeah, so many people in Porter Ranch filed. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So a lot of people in Porter Ranch filed lawsuits. A lot of people have attorneys. Haven't the attorneys asked for a list of the chemicals? I mean, I think they're not, it's just obvious they're not going to listen to us unless we twist some legal muscle. And we have, it's 6-7 years and they haven't answered our questions. It's not a hard question to answer. They were all over the place, coming to our homes, checking the air. They've had stuff everywhere. Have any of the attorneys asked the question, what was in the air?
Yes.
Anybody know? And did they get an answer?
Yes, they asked, and they did not get an answer from SoCal Gas. And Becky, I'm glad you brought this up because this is critically important that everyone understands and why we put it in the lap of DPH. Because of industry trade secrets, a plaintiff attorney cannot get to that information.
The who?
The plaintiff attorneys, the ones leading the lawsuit, do not have legal right to that information because the industry is hiding behind trade secrets. So it's like asking them for the formula for Coca-Cola. We totally disagree, but that they're hidden behind, they're able to have a shield of proprietary information. But who can pierce that veil is a public health emergency. And if this wasn't a public health emergency, I don't know what was. And Department of Public Health has the legal authority to pierce that trade secret veil and extract this information from SoCal Gas. They lack the political will, not the science will, the political will to throw down and go after this legally. And that should be appalling to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. I have a question in the Q&A from Anthony, Assemblywoman's office. And the question is, has DPH assigned a specific caseworker for the blowout?
They have a team that is under Dr. Muntu Davis, and they have a team dedicated, and Charlene, I could put those names back up for Anthony. These are the names. These are the people that the Congresswoman should be in contact with, or Assemblywoman, excuse me, because these are the folks that are not doing right by this community. Forget DPH. These are the people. Hopefully I answered your question, Tony. If not, please write back.
Thank you. I have a question from Andrew. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Not a question. Assad, let me address your question regarding the air. Where are the air monitors? The last piece of information I've heard, and this is many months, is that they are in the ubiquitous contracting phase. And I just want the board and the public to know that that is the phase where the AQMD will sit on a project until they figure out or they decide it's important. I'm aware of other contracts taking more than a year to move through the process. So we should all be very unhappy with the AQMD. I think it's safe to say at this point, they are actively stalling this project.
Thank you, Andrew. Any other further questions? Craig, quick question for you. You mentioned that the CAG is not meeting as often currently. Is that correct? What are the exact reasons for that?
What were the reasons for that?
Correct.
Yeah, DPH has put meetings with them on a sabbatical. The reason they offered was because they are in the RFP development process and they're claiming some quiet time or something like that, which we disagreed with. We wanted to meet because we obviously disagree with the path that they're on.
Thank you, Craig. And this involves, I assume, the air monitoring, health monitoring, et cetera. It's all integrated together.
The air monitoring is not as integrated as you guys would like it to be. Just want to make sure you're aware of that. What DPH just points the finger at AQMD, and AQMD is their own little island, and they're operating on their own agenda. And unless somebody pierces that, they will do what Andrew is described. And I also believe They are intentionally stalling. Could it have something to do with the lawsuit? I have no idea, but they are stalling. And this community is getting hurt in the meantime.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you. And there's a comment from Glenn Bailey saying stalling so they can maximize spending the funds on their staff and consultants. Has a question mark on it.
You know, Glenn, and thank you so much for being at so many of the meetings. That's an informed opinion that one could defend and say, yep, it sure looks that way. You want my opinion? They are on a path to do as little as they have to, spend $25 million and come back and tell this community, we didn't find anything. We need to do more research. We didn't see anything that concerning, when they never took the temperature of an individual in the community. That's not science.
Thank you, Craig. Any other comments from panelists or attendees?
This has been very frustrating for the CAG. I am not alone on this, guys. I am incredibly proud of this team. We fought really, really hard, and we're not able. We had an unwilling partner.
No, I bet. Definitely seems so. I see Brian Allen has his hands up. 1 second. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond real quickly to Glenn's position. It does look like there is a considerable amount of money that has been spent on the consultants who were functioning in operating the CAG meetings. So we don't know for sure where the money was spent, the 1.2 plus million, but we do know that they gave us some very, very, very general breakdowns, and there was quite a bit of money spent on consultants at that stage. So that's just a slight update to Glenn's question.
Thank you, Brian. I see Brandy Grace has a question. Go ahead, Brandy.
Not a question. I just wanted to say thank you to Craig and to everybody else on the CAG who has spent so much of their, I'm sure, very considerably small free time tracking this and reporting on this and working so hard to make sure our community is as well aware of this as we can be. And, you know, your efforts are not a waste. Your efforts are recognized. And thank you so much for doing this, because it is so important to all of us.
Thank you for mentioning that, Brandy. Much appreciated. I'll pass it along to the entire CAG.
I second that as well. Thank you.
I third it.
Thank you.
Quick note to the note taker that Jennifer Ibrahim came in late at 7 p.m. Please, if you could document it. Any other comments, questions before we move on to the next agenda item? Nope. Thank you again, Craig. And I
Sure, thank
you'll
you.
be here for the rest of the meeting. So
I will. And Anthony, if you have any other questions, the CAG is very happy to speak with you.
and I can put both of you in touch as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gabriel, for the time and the board. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next item, which was moved. The next item is going to be item number 11, introduction and presentation on county health study and independent community-led alternatives. Raise your hand if you are part of this discussion. Thank you, Andrew. Anybody else? Brian, 1 second. Okay.
Gabe, in case they're trying to be shy, if we could bring in Craig and Brian Allen and Dr. Nordella, if they are all potential speakers in this agenda item.
1 second. Craig, you said is already inside, I believe, right? Dr. Nordella, Andrew. Okay, is everybody in here? Looks like it. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much. So hard to follow such doom and gloom. I will do my best to offer some light at the end of this tunnel. So good evening, board, and thank you for the opportunity to introduce ourselves to you. I apologize, I'm just in a car here, so not great background. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Andrew Crown. I'm a former PRNC board member. I'm also currently a member of the Aliso Canyon Disaster Health Research Study CAG with Craig and Brian. And I come to you tonight as the president of Environmental Health Research. So Craig, Brian, and I started EHR because after 2 years of constant battling with DPH, and you just got a pretty in-depth view of that battling, we could not secure a commitment that DPH would in fact perform a long-term patient-based clinical study. In fact, there is no guarantee of a long-term study at all, something Craig didn't mention. After 3 years, the study will be evaluated. And if they determine that no more work needs to be done, that 10-year study is now over. That's want to make sure everybody is aware of that. So like everything else since the blowout, if there's any hope of getting the type of study the community has demanded, and I'm just going to touch again, the surveys demanded it, the email write-ins demanded it, the in-person meetings demanded it. If we're going to get what the community demanded, the community is going to need to do it itself. It's a sad commentary, but it's the truth. So environmental health research is a federally recognized 501c3 nonprofit. We are pleased to announce to everyone on the board in Porter Ranch and any other communities that are listening that we have secured a small grant already. And we are currently accepting and receiving donations from community members. But as you know, running a nonprofit needs community support, both financial and sweat equity. Now add that we are trying to run an independent health study, and those needs grow exponentially. So let me share with you now some of the successes we have already had. We are pleased to announce that Dr. Jeffrey Nordella, and we really should not need to introduce Dr. Nordella. He is the physician, capital THE, that has been fighting for the stakeholders of Porter Ranch. And is probably the most knowledgeable person on the planet to what might in fact happen to us, or where to look, or what to do next. Dr. Nordella will continue to support and advise the community and EHR on our health care concerns. We are also pleased to announce that we have secured community partnerships with Food and Water Watch, who many on this Zoom know very well, Say Porter Ranch, again, who many know very well, and a university partnership with Cal State Northridge's Health Equity Research and Education Center, the HERE Center for short. As Craig just shared with you a few moments ago, public health is at a minimum 6 to 12 months from actually doing something health study related. Under the advice of Dr. Nordella, EHR is currently working on these initial steps. And I want you to listen closely because this is what everyone's been waiting for 5 years now. EHR is currently working to acquire existing data for analysis. You don't always have to do the hard work of collecting the data yourself. We are working on a wide survey within the community that's in partnership with the CSUN HERE Center. Okay. We are working to expand the CBC testing as well as kidney and liver function testing. Continue to grow our medical and administrative resources. Okay. And we are working to start pulmonary testing. At the advice of Dr. Nordella, these are the initial areas we need to be looking at. And in order to speak a little bit more about the geek part of this, the real deep science part, I'd like to toss to Dr. Nordella for a couple of moments, if he's on.
Floor is yours, Dr. Nordell.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think that the initial phase, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to get a patient-based study. I don't know, but certainly a high suspicion that you will not get a patient-centric study. You'll get more of an environmental impact study again, which you have, and you've all seen that for the last 6 years. So the first thought is to kind of take the temperature of the community through a survey and just see who's still sick. So talking to the community members, it has to be organized, can't violate any, obviously HIPAA. So we want to do it very professionally, and we can extend that even out into cancer survey. We can look at the numbers. Again, you're not going to get that. We've met with the cancer people who custodian the records, and I think Craig would testify to the fact that the methodology that they're using to detect cancers certainly wouldn't suffice in this case. So I think to do a survey would absolutely help us. And then I'd love to look back at the CBC data and add liver function test. I was quite concerned when Dr. Simon gave his talk the other night that when he received data on the CBC from a different lab, that they manipulated and edited, quote unquote, the data before they sent it off and didn't do a full statistical analysis. And then came up with well, there's really nothing here, no single signal points. And it was like very concerning, but then went on, and when questioned about the children and the liver function test, which is a significant proof that another physician had laid out in another exposure, that he was very concerned, quote unquote, but yet had never looked at it. So we have that pending. So to restart that and to relook at it and compare it to last data, even using another lab, I think would be very significant for the community. And then the last is to do the pulmonary functions test. And I would recommend starting there first, because the major vector of how this was transported into the bloodstream was really through the respiratory tract. So these chemicals and these polytoxins have that high risk of damaging your pulmonary tree. So doing formal pulmonary function tests that are computerized by a facility and pulmonologist, I think would be definitely advantageous to the community. And I would start there. And as is any studies, you'll find data that pulls off and it starts to answer questions, and then it leads you down different paths. So that would be my recommendation. And hopefully we can move forward with that.
Thank you, Dr. Nordella.
Thank you, Dr. Nordella. So I hope everyone understood the deep science part of that presentation. So to pull this back and put a bow around this, Craig spoke for 9 minutes about how the public health, the $25 million health study, the study that those in the community fought so hard to get, is beyond flawed and really working down a path that none of us wanted to go down. Here is a living, breathing alternative, community-centric, community-run, by those who have spent those years, those 27 months on the CAG. We're not starting this fresh. We know what areas to look for. We know the battles that need to be waged. We know the battles we need to win to have success, and we know what the community has told us they want, because we've been in the trenches. So with that, I'd like to open up to the board of the stakeholders for any questions.
Board members, do you have any questions for Andrew or the team? Attendees? No questions. I think you represented yourself very clearly. And
Well,
everybody's on the same page.
if nothing else, I hope that the board members and the attendees can take a glimmer of hope out of this meeting. There is finally, we hope, some good news in the health study front. You have people fighting for you, fighting for your family, fighting for your neighbors, fighting for those in this community that don't know that they need to be, that they need a fighter. Okay. We will, well, let me say, we encourage everyone on the meeting to visit our website at ehrusa.org. Again, ehrusa.org. You can sign up, put your name and email in and sign up for updates. If you're feeling incredibly generous, you can make a donation, which we greatly appreciate. We are looking to get started ASAP. We're ready to go. We don't need to wait 6 or 12 months. And if the board is open, we'd like to come back maybe at your next meeting and with an MPG, as well as a request for a letter of support. And I'd like everyone to know that we will be doing that for all North Valley NCs, all the NCs that have gone on record as stating they do not support the pathway of the county health study. It is time to unite. It's time to pool our resources, and it's time to do the work in a community-driven independent health study. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Andrew. There's a question from Gary. Floor is yours, Gary.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
You're very low.
Can you hear me now?
No,
Oh,
your volume is very low.
yeah, let me try another location. It'll just take me a second.
Sure.
Is this any better?
No, but board, can you hear him?
If you
I can hear him.
turn it way down,
I
you
can
can hear
hear
it.
him.
And it, you can repeat what he says, Gabe.
Okay.
My question for Dr. Nordella is, he mentioned different major organs in the body. Is it known yet what the well, how do I say it? Pecking order is, cardiovascular, pulmonology, liver, kidneys. I mean, is there an order to which has been more likely to be an issue?
Thank you. His question is pretty much, is there an order of, let me rephrase his question, a breakdown of the bodily like liver, organs, etc. This question is to Dr. Nardella. How people are being symptomatic to everything going on right now. Is there a specific order? Is that the question, Gary?
Yes, which is kind of the worst case and working your way down.
What is the worst case and work your way down, he said, from the symptoms. Dr. Nordella?
Most numerous.
Dr. Nordella, you here? There you go.
Hear me?
Yes,
Can
we
you
hear.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, so I think that it's tough to answer the way it was phrased, but I think I could answer it this way. It's again, you have to look at the organ system that was first encountered. And again, most of these toxins, these polytoxins came in through the lung tissue. So you can damage anywhere between the oral pharynx down to the trachea, the bronchus, down to the small airways, the alveoli, a little bit, I hate to say, like SARS-CoV-2. So you can damage the pulmonary tree. These chemicals then get absorbed and translated throughout the body. So I would say the next two organ systems that obviously by priority is the cardiovascular or the heart and the nervous system. Those are the two big ones. And yes, there's clinical effects of that. The acrolein levels that caused, I believe, which I'd like to dive into deeper, is caused all of the migraine-like headaches in the community. It's well known in the literature. Again, this was never brought up, and I think I've tried to bring it up a couple of times. This chemical acrolein was used in World War I as an agent for destruction. So these levels were all elevated. And again, public health lied and deceived the community by using an article that did not apply to this at all and abandoned the EPA levels to explain these high levels that were in the community, and said basically that this was from you all cooking oils in your kitchen. So you would like be in your kitchen, you would boil oil and then throw something, whatever you do, unless you're all, French fry people. But I see no reason for that. So that was their reasoning, except they couldn't explain that how then it was found in the schools and the classrooms. I don't think the children, boil oil for their lunches. Bad kind of behavior and not looking at the health issues of the community. So that would be another, is again, the neurovascular, or the neurology of it. So there's all kinds of things to look at, and we have to do general screening. We would do that with a comprehensive metabolic profile on the CBC. And again, because we don't have the chemicals of concern, we have to, play hide and seek a little bit with this. So you have to go in and start doing screening and look at particular biomarkers depending on what you find. So I hope that answered your question.
Sounds like I shared too many of my homemade corn dogs with everybody. They all got sick from the oil.
Yeah, well, that would be accounting for all of the acrolein that's in the air and all over your homes. And it just is absolutely absurd.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nordella. Ron Nagai has a question. Floor is yours.
Yes, when we have public meetings open to the public again, where we're actually present, would it be a good or a bad idea to have Catherine Barger herself, not a representative, have her attend a meeting and have the press invited and ask her to introduce a motion to restore the $1+ million back into the fund and redirect it to our own health study? Would it be of any use or helpful, or is it even feasible?
I think we're in
Ron,
love with you, Ron.
It's a great idea. Catherine Barger, it took us like 10 months to meet with her, even though we were promised to. And we were promised to repeatedly meet with her, and that's never occurred. So would we love to get her in a room? Absolutely. I think actually making that happen is going to be a very, very difficult thing.
Thank you to both of you.
At the same time, I think it's a great idea, and we should put it out there in front of her and say, this is what the community and the stakeholders want, and then let her answer for herself.
I agree.
The backdrop of that question would be the fact that she's coming up for re-election someday, and this needs to be front and center during that campaign.
Personally, I agree with you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for this portion, this agenda item. With no further questions, let's move on, which I think some of you might be involved in the next action too, I'm assuming, which is discussion and possible action to create and send a letter condemning the CPUC's decision to expand capacity of Aliso Canyon. Brandy?
Gabe, I am so sorry.
Yes, sir.
I apologize for interrupting. Did Dr. Nordella want to talk about his COVID-19?
Yeah, he had the next item.
We pushed him down, I think, to the next item after. You want to bring him back up?
Yeah, no, he's before me. It's fine. He should go before me.
Okay, we can do that. We can move back to 10. Dr. Nordella, floor is yours.
Yeah, so along with what I'd like to do with a patient-based study is look at COVID. And right now, I had initiated, I think it's been going on for almost 2 months now, and we have over 1,100 participants in a study, and we're looking at antibodies. We're looking at antibodies in the vax population and the on-vax. There is no pre-agenda to this. We're just trying to look at the semi-quantitative antibodies and the nucleocapsid antibodies. And just as of today, we've met with labs in Seattle, and we're going to increase it and start doing what they call a T-detect test, which basically means that your long-term immunity can be looked at through T cells. So I would love to have greater participation, and I know I've reached out a couple of times, and it is a bit disappointing, and I know people are burnt out and don't have a lot of hope. But if we could resurrect some positive energy here and get your blood drawn, we can create the cohort with you as with control groups and look at seeing if your lymphocytes are good and healthy, or your immune system is good and healthy. I'm laying that out to you, hoping that you will inspire the community to kind of come together and put all of this together. But it's just another avenue to look at the health of the community.
Thank you, Dr. Nordell. You want to give your email address and information again to the community so they can jot it down?
Sure. It's just jbnuclamd@gmail.com. And you would email that just asking to be or requesting to be in the study. An order will be submitted for you to LabCorp. You would go in and get your antibodies drawn. I will get the results and we will make you part of the study. And I call everybody who is positive. So if you don't have antibodies, you would be in an unprotected class. And again, you would get an email and let you know that.
I personally did it and it was fast, easy, and I suggest everyone to find out their antibodies, if you have antibodies or not. I think it's a great thing Dr. Nordell is doing, and the research will probably come in very handy. I see a attendee with a question. Ron again. Floor is yours.
Hi, doctor. Who has access to the names of the participants?
Only myself.
So LabCorp has a number associated with my name?
LabCorp will have your name just as if you went in from any ordering physician. So they will have your name, your information. And thank you for that, because they will bill the insurance if you have insurance for this test. And by the way, it's $42 if you don't. It's not an expensive test. But yes, they do. In the study, there will be no mentions of names. It will be HIPAA protected, and it's just data mining. And we will be sending it off to statisticians with no, again, personal health information disclosed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions by participants or panelists, sorry, from the board? Anyone from attendees? Nope, sounds good. Thank you, Dr. Nordell, for the presentation and information.
You're welcome.
And you gave your information out, and if anybody wants the email address again, just reach out to me and I'll provide it. Let's move on to the next item. Brandy, this is yours.
Yeah, thank you. So as I'm sure many, if not all of you are aware, the California Public Utilities Commission voted recently to expand the capacity of Aliso. Now, there was some, there were a lot of advocates and community members that went to object, as well as many of our elected officials that went to object. Something that was interesting was that the SoCal Gas, according to all the reports, was actually asking for them to be expanded all the way to 100% capacity, up from 50. And so it appears that the California Public Utilities Commission went for what they felt was a halfway between and went for 60%. So they increased the capacity by 10%, which is still pretty significant. They went from 34 billion cubic feet to over 41, citing concerns about energy reliability for the winter. And this is still, it's better than going to 100%, but this is very much in antithesis to what we've been demanding, which is the shutdown of Aliso Canyon. And a lot of our community members have been very angry about this decision and very upset that this indicate we are going very much in the wrong direction. So in light of that, I wanted to present the idea that we could do, as a neighborhood council, a letter condemning the decision. And there are several options for how this could go. Gabriel, can I share screen real quick?
Go right ahead. Are you able to right now?
Yeah.
Should be able to. Go ahead.
And get Zoom out of the way. Can you see this? The ELISO expansion decision?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So there's a handful of options of what a letter like this could contain. We can highlight the environmental impacts. I'll go through each of these. We can highlight the unknowns about the health risks. We can formally admonish them. We can discuss that this is a bipartisanship thing. We can do a call to action for electeds to join us in condemning this decision. And we can also go further if we like. We can call to action to impose new limits on further expansion of gas usage in Los Angeles. So here's an example writing of what this part could sound like, highlighting the environmental impacts. As has been highlighted at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, methane is around 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide and is a substantial contributor to climate change. In fact, according to some experts, simply preventing methane leaks could do more to slow climate change than any other single measure. Tragically, natural gas facilities like the Aliso Canyon Storage Facility remain a significant source of these methane leaks. We can highlight the unknown health risks. So the example being, in addition to the extreme environmental damage, there are lingering unanswered questions about potential health risks to those living near these facilities, trying to play the game of, well, I'm going to pretend like we don't know there's problems, but at least acknowledge that we know there's unknowns. The known unknowns. We can formally admonish. Given these concerns, the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council strongly condemns the recent decision of the California Public Utilities Commission, CPUC, to approve a capacity increase at Aliso Canyon Natural Gas Storage Facility. This approval was made over the strong objections of the residents who have suffered the day-to-day consequences of this decision. Indicator of bipartisanship. Voices from both sides of the political aisle objected to the CPUC's decision. Before the vote, State Senator Henry Stern, D. Calabasas, sent a letter to the CPUC that advocated for the Aliso Canyon facility to be closed altogether and emphasized the need to move away from natural gas. As he correctly pointed out, there are feasible zero carbon, safer, and more affordable alternatives. Likewise, Assemblymember Suzette Valderas, R. Santa Clara, echoed similar concerns while calling the expansion of the gas storage facility unnecessary and irresponsible. I think this is a good thing to include in our letter because it does show bipartisanship. A call of action for electeds to join us. We, the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council, stand with our neighbors and elected officials in decrying this reckless decision and implore all of our community leaders and representatives to similarly stand with us in both condemning the CPUC's decision and strongly advocating for the CPUC to reconsider it. And then this is the one I thought might be the most controversial for people to discuss. But one thing we could do is a call to action to impose further limits on gas being used in new construction. So a lot of cities are doing this now. They're saying you cannot add natural gas for usage in new construction. There were some new rules that were recently passed on the state side that some people thought actually did this, but it doesn't. The statewide rules say that you have to have all new construction houses be electrifying ready. So they have to be able to go without natural gas, but they don't have to be without natural gas. There's a preference for electricity over natural gas, but not a requirement for. So an example would be, we, the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council, are concerned that this expansion is an ominous sign that the Aliso Canyon will continue to operate in our community for as long as they can continue to make a case for expansion. As such, we strongly support any actions to curb the increased need for natural gas and advocate that Los Angeles join the growing number of cities outright banning natural gas hookups in new construction. That should be hookups, and it should be a small a. This is why I didn't set this together as a letter, but rather wanted to show you the different options of what we could put together in a letter so we could discuss it as a group, and then whatever people decide they did or didn't want to do, I can put together a letter for the 8th for the next meeting. So this is just a discussion on, should we do a letter, and if so, what should go in it? So feedback.
Thank you, Brandy. Any board members have any comments? All right, I see an attendee with a comment. Andrew, floor is yours.
Thank you, Gabe. Brandy, thank you very much for getting this ball rolling. Um,
course.
you know, board, you are in the fortunate or unfortunate position of being the absolute ground zero NC, which means you wear the mantle of taking leadership in really all actions regarding Aliso. Many other NCs look to you for your leadership, even though they may not reach out directly. This is an absolutely necessary step, this letter. And quite frankly, knowing what we know, I think the letter of admonishment is where you go. And I say that for the following few reasons. One, we absolutely know that the facility continues to leak on an average of twice daily. That's not opinion. That is fact confirmed by SoCalGas themselves. Two, while methane is an environmental polluter, the fact of the matter is we know that Aliso Canyon is a formaldehyde super emitter. We also know that Aliso Canyon has a fault line running directly through it. And we also know of a handful of very, very powerful, dangerous, carcinogenic chemicals that were emitted during the blowout and would be again should there be further issue. We also know that immediately following the blowout, as part of, I believe, SB 380, whereas the facility must remain closed until a evaluation of its safety was performed, the state put in 32 mitigation measures to reduce the need for Aliso Canyon down to 2 completely non-essential withdrawals over almost 2 years. Those mitigation efforts worked, but those mitigation efforts have been completely abandoned because the PUC will not enforce SoCalGas to follow them. So there are a number of failures by the PUC here, and there are a number of avenues for them to significantly, if not completely, reduce the need for Aliso Canyon. They have those tools already, and they are choosing not to. And they're choosing not to at the detriment of you, your family, your neighbors, my family, everyone who lives, works, and plays and breathes the air that comes out of that facility. That should make you angry. And therefore, a letter of admonishment is the only course I think the board should take, including the facts that I stated, to help support that position. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Assad, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I echo on the handful that Andrew already said. And, you know, as a stakeholder, as a community leader, and as previously when I ran for CD12, I advocated for the closure of Aliso. I think you are in the unfortunate position where you are ground zero and there is a direction you need to go and help us all in the stakeholders, not only in Porter Ranch, but the whole Valley area. But unfortunately, to remind you, you are still a city entity. So there is a thin line that you need to define and follow so that you don't fall in entrapment that becomes an obstacle. You're spearheading our efforts and you're spearheading the effort for the closure. So just watch your steps, make baby steps. I know we've been waiting for 7 years, but so that this way you don't fall in pitfalls. Maybe your first approach through the city council itself, given the charter and given we are, you know, the PRNC is a city entity. But I'm for this letter. I'm for supporting all the efforts. And if you need guidance, I'm available. And I'm sure Andrew also, as a previous PRNC member, can guide you through that. Just watch for the pitfalls and don't fall in them. And the best of luck for our community.
Thank you, Assad.
Can I respond real quick?
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. And I think you're right. My personal thought on this was that the call to action for electeds would go mostly focus on the city council. And that's why I even quoted our other representatives in this. And there's other representatives I could quote as well, but to focus on the city. Same with if we did a call to action on this that includes the new gas construction, because this is something that LA City Council has been discussing, considering. You're considering it. A lot of members said they were waiting for the LA 100 study to come out, which just came out a few months ago. So this might in of itself be a call to action or an issue that we want to take up separately, which is part of why I wanted to talk about this today. Or we could put this in here now because we want to take a really strong stand on the issue altogether. But I really appreciate your advice and comments.
Thank you, Brandy. This is your motion. You can add anything you want, and then we'll call the vote after the motion. And like you said, you can write something up and present it to the board for the 8th meeting.
Becky had her hand up.
Definitely. 1 second. Becky, you want to speak?
I do.
Go for it.
Well, first of all, Brandy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for taking the leadership on this. I, for one, am very upset that they even considered increasing the capacity. That's only one thing among many, many others. And I'm going to just say we're mad as heck and we're not going to take it anymore. So I say go for the letter.
I love you, Becky.
Thank
I
you.
do too. Go for it.
100% agree with you here. I got a question from Ron Nagai. Floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm in complete support of the letter, but one thing I remember, one of the consultants that spoke at a meeting and on television as well about shutting Aliso Canyon down. One of the mitigation measures was to increase pipeline capacity, which was a huge cost. And nobody ever talked about doing some kind of a joint venture like we do in other major public works projects where government funding comes in to help a private entity do something like that. And I'm wondering if running parallel to all of these efforts that we're talking about today, if we can start looking at because Congress has pretty much resurrected the federal earmarks. They don't say that, but they actually have. Getting our congressional members to start bring in some of this infrastructure money to help Southern California Gas bring in the pipelines necessary to meet the need without expanding Aliso Canyon, eventually closing it down. I don't think they're ever going to want to close it down, but they could greatly reduce the need for the amount of storage they have there if they had the pipeline infrastructure, which is very expensive. Has the council thought about asking the congressman and our other allies to get the federal government to allocate money for a pipeline expansion? And in the time that it's taken from the time of the blowout till now, we could actually be in the construction phase already. So I'm just wondering, this doesn't look like something that's going to resolve itself in the next year or two. I wonder if running parallel to this effort, that we should help Southern California Gas do a pipeline to reduce the need for the storage at Aliso Canyon. Just a thought.
Thank you, Ron. You want to add something to that, Brandy?
Yeah, thank you, Ron. I think that's interesting. I know that there was an article the other day saying that California's part of the Build Back Better was possibly going to be withheld due to arguments over state pension payment stuff. So, but like you said, this isn't probably a short-term thing. It might be a long-term thing. Honestly, I think because there are ideas like that out there in the community, that maybe what we should do is consider having a specific Aliso committee again that could discuss all these different ideas. Because I don't know if we should just have it stuck into the sustainability committee, or there should be another separate Aliso one again. But I'll leave that to Gabriel to decide.
Thank you, Brandy. I honestly think that this everything you wrote right here, we should send it to all the public officials. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I mean, I did share some of the concerns Assad did, as far as I know we've kind of been wrist slapped before about overstepping, but this issue is, you know, it's ultimately our job to advocate for the community, period. So I think it might be pertinent if there's any officials that didn't speak out against this, that they should get a copy of it. I would CC it. I think we can maybe work around it by directing it to the city council and then CCing others. But yeah, I'd like to work with you, Gabriel, because you're the president, so things will kind of fall on your shoulders. I'd like to work with you on the specifics of the letter in that.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll work together and then we'll bring the final letter if the board approves to write a letter to begin with on the 8th.
Andrew has his hand up again.
Yes. Andrew, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to make a comment regarding what Ron was talking about. Ron, I don't recall the interview with the analyst, but let me just throw this out as a reminder, because, you know, over 6 years, there's a lot of monkey businesses gone on, you know, with this topic. During all of the blackout blackmail years, during all the time that SoCalGas was trying to fight the mitigation measures and get the PUC to expand the capacity, SoCalGas themselves has been manipulating the inbound supply lines. And they do that based on having maintenance. The pipelines go down for maintenance, or they had an incident out in the desert. The reason I bring this up is very simply this. SoCalGas took years to repair what oil and gas companies in the East Coast have repaired in weeks or months. SoCalGas themselves are manipulating the supply to make Aliso look more important. There are countless examples of this. So the supply, the intrastate supply, not an issue. The other, as I will just generally mention in terms of having, you know, federal money or state money, is, again, in 2020, Sempra Energy did over $12 billion with almost $4 billion of profit. They do not need government handouts. Thank you guys very much. And I'm going to step off. I really hope the board authorizes the movement forward for a letter, and I'd be happy to help in any way that's necessary.
Thank you, Andrew. Does anybody have any specific comments about the last item, whether or not we should advocate that the city council pass restrictions on gas hookups in new construction?
I honestly thought that had happened until I spoke to you recently.
Okay.
I personally would like to see that, but it's up to the board once again.
Yeah.
I see Ron has another question. Ron, floor is yours. And then after that, we'll call the vote.
Okay, I just want to make a quick comment. I personally have worked on some major grant projects that have assisted multi-million dollar, billion-dollar companies in the city of Los Angeles. And I do want to say that I agree with what Andrew said, but at the same time, all of our efforts have been us against Southern California Gas. I think that this effort that we talked about tonight is a good one. I support that. But I think that if there is an opportunity to make it more economically advantageous to use the pipeline as opposed to the storage, that is a cheaper way to go for Southern California Gas, which has caused them to do what they've done with the pipelines that Andrew mentioned up till now. I hope that people can keep an open mind, and we can either complain for the next 20 years, or maybe we can find a solution that is not the best today in giving Southern California Gas some grant money, but taking that off the table now and moving forward. That's just a thought.
Thank you, Ron.
I love Ron, that you are so solutions oriented and that you are trying different things. I really appreciate that, and it's one of the things I love about you. You're trying hard to do what's best, and you're trying to find a way forward. And I think that's what all of us need to be doing. So and I'm happy to keep working with you on these ideas.
Thank you. And then last question, Becky, it's yours. Floor is
Just-
yours.
Just want to, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just want to make a statement, suggestion for Brandy and for Ron and for many of the people who this is very near and dear to our hearts. You might want to consider forming an ad hoc committee to go, because there's a lot of stuff to put in this letter and a lot of things to kind of percolate on. That would be my suggestion, is to do an ad hoc committee and then present a letter.
What do you think, Gabe?
We definitely could. Is this time restraint?
It's not time restraint. I mean, I was hoping to go for the 8th just because like they made the decision and I want to get this out.
Right.
I don't
know-
think anything we do is going to change the decision really fast.
True. Or we could send this letter out or approve this letter, and then if you can lead creating a liaison for it and move forward, would that be okay?
Yeah, no, I can do that.
You okay with that, Becky, too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's do that. We could work on that together to set that up, Brandy.
Can
So-
I ask one more, just kind of a last chance for anybody who has a really strong opinion about this last item? You just really want to make sure if there's any strong opinions against it, that they get heard.
No hands are getting raised.
Okay, okay.
You want to go ahead? You want to go ahead with the motion?
Yeah, so I will make a motion to draft a letter of condemnation for the against the CPUC's recent decision to expand capacity for Aliso Canyon.
I
Thank you.
second it.
Becky seconded it. Any more comments? Last second comments? Going once, twice. All right, let's call the vote. David Lasher,
Yes.
thank you. David Balin, absent. Hilda,
Yes.
thank you. Jason recused himself. Louis is absent. Becky,
Yes.
thank you. Brandy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
thank you. Voss,
Yes.
thank you. Christine,
Yes.
thank you. Gabriel, yes, and motion passes. Numbers are 8 yes, 2 absent, and 1 recused.
Thank you
And
all.
motion passes. Thank you. Let's move on to the next item. Next 2 items are very similar, but first one is by Becky.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I would like to recuse myself for item 15 and 16.
Thank you, Voss.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And I'll message you when this is done. Anybody else want to recuse themselves? Nope. Okay, let's move forward. Becky, the floor is yours for item number 13.
Okay, at our last meeting, we had representatives from View Ridge Townhomes present a letter that they asked regarding the fires that have been occurring along the 118 freeway. I'd like to make a motion to support the letter to California State Governor Gavin Newsom et al. From View Ridge Townhomes Homeowners Association in Porter Ranch. The letter is dated November 11th, 2021, regarding fires that have occurred along the 118 freeway, and the letter is attached right there.
Thank you. Do we have a second? I'll second that, which is Gabriel.
Or I was going to, my computer crashed for a second.
No worries. I was trying to share a screen and I saw Jason shared it before me. So I was occupied with that in the back end. All right, let me pull up. All right, any panelists have any questions regarding it? Any attendees? Susan, floor is yours.
First of all, thank you for continuing it on your agenda. I really, really appreciate it on behalf of the folks that live here and the board. And as a board member, I appreciate what you do. It's not easy, and I really appreciate your job. If you have any questions about it, I'm here and I can answer them. But I just want to say thank you for bringing this up again. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Anthony, you want to add anything to this?
Okay, yeah, well, here's what I will say. The Assemblywoman has this letter. She's read it. She's in full support of it. She asked our office reach out to Caltrans on behalf of the State Assembly, and which we did this morning. So far, I've heard back from the Chief of Governmental and Legislative Affairs, Maria Raptis. She's being very responsive, and we are getting this letter in front of somebody at Caltrans. But yes, the Assemblywoman has read it, and she has spoke with some of the View Ridge Townhomes residents, and this is coming straight from her. She's specifically assigned this to our office to try and get it in front of Caltrans and try to get something. The problem is that it's two different agencies. The Metropolitan Transit Authority, the MTA, is the one that builds the wall, but Caltrans is the one that maintains the vegetation on the side of the road. So it's been sort of a bureaucratic, it's taken some bureaucratic maneuvering to try and get it in front of the people who need to get it in front. But you have the support of this office, and we are back, and we are going to try and see how we can see this. If anybody has any questions, that's sort of why I'm here. So I'd love to see where we can go and how we can move this forward.
Thank you, Anthony. Jason?
Yeah, thank you, Anthony, for those comments. And, it's been a challenge. We've been dealing with Caltrans for as long as I've been on the board. It's been a challenge getting stuff done with Caltrans. And I'll just be real honest with you. It's gotten a lot worse lately. I used to put in requests for, regularly every couple months, the trash on the freeway. I mean, you get off on the exits probably on Tampa and Porter Ranch Drive, and you look at the condition that it's in. So, it is a Caltrans issue. Don't get caught up in the bureaucracy of the wall. It's a Caltrans lack of brush clearance issue. I drove by, yesterday and paid close attention to the massive amounts of dead brush and debris. And the letter that I wrote is very specific, and it's coming up on the agenda, but it's basically those bushes that are on there. Those are called acacia bushes, and the fire department does not like those things. They required the Porter Ranch Estates to remove all of those on the hillside, and it cost them over $250,000. And if you look at the fire where it happened, it was the acacia bushes that caught fire. And there's so many dead ones there. You have dead fallen trees. So right now, they need to just get in there and clear out all the dead stuff. That's basically the number one priority right now. This never would have happened if they would have been maintaining it. And believe me, I've been putting in the requests for this for the last 3 years. I've been putting in, brush clearance and, dead trees, and I can give you all that information, but we need a point of contact, for our neighborhood council. I'm the chair of the beautification, and I do a lot of this, issues with Caltrans, but getting somebody who will be responsive. And so I'm very thankful for your attending this meeting. And I'm thankful for the support of the Assemblywoman. And I just want to, them to know that we're not going to tolerate this. As a community, it's not acceptable. And I didn't include it in the letter, but if you go to Calabasas, you go to Thousand Oaks, even just travel outside of the county, and you see the difference, big difference. The brush is all clear. Instead of the acacia bushes, they can put in that ice plant. That ice plant is not going to be a fire hazard. So you know, they need to meet with us. They need to work with us. And, you know, we need to have ongoing conversations. So I'm, you know, maybe we can turn this bad experience into something positive and providing a long-term solution and a relationship where, and if you look at our letter, it, you know, it's a partnership. We very much believe in partnering. So those are the comments, but I hope that she gets the letter that we're gonna vote on today as well from our
Is
council.
it's the next letter on the?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
but let's vote on this letter first.
No, we're not voting on that letter yet, Becky. I'm just mentioning it.
No, I know, but I think that kind of pertains in letter number 2.
Right.
No, she's saying let's vote on this section first and then we'll go on.
Yeah,
to-
that's what obviously, yes.
All righty. Any other, I see a hand up, Assad?
Maybe I should wait for the next one because I wanted to respond to Jason's comment on Caltrans. So I'll make, I guess, the comment in the next item.
Yeah, just, this is on the View Ridge Townhome letter.
Sounds good. Thank you, Assad. With no further questions, we have a first and a second. I'll call vote. David Lasser? David,
Sorry, yes, I vote for that.
thank you. David Balin is absent. Hilda?
Yes.
Thank you. Jason?
Yes.
Thank you. Lewis is absent. Becky?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yes.
Thank you, Voss. Voss has recused himself. Christine?
Yes.
Thank you. Gabriel, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 8 yeses, 2 absent, 1 recused. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Becky. Let's go to the next item, which is Jason.
So this is the letter that
You're very choppy,
we
Jason.
have here. Let me scroll. What?
Your voice is choppy.
Oh. Okay, so this letter is to Caltrans District 7 as well as the downtown, the headquarters. And it is essentially asking them to address the dead wood and the brush and everything along the freeway between Porter Ranch Drive and Balboa, essentially. And it just expresses some of the frustrations that we have, mentioning the fire. And yeah, I do mention other areas that they're doing a much better job. And Porter Ranch is one of the highest tax bases in the city. So, you know, we don't believe that it's a monetary issue. And we're also mentioning the Adopt a Highway program where we're out there with community members picking up trash. And, you know, this is part of what we do to work together and do our part. And then I mentioned, like I was saying, the fallen trees, the acacia bushes, they really need to remove the lower branches on the pine trees and any dead brush that's in, you know, it should be consistent with what the homeowners have to do in terms of brush clearance. And just here, you know, we want to work collaboratively with them and open the lines of communication. And, you know, this is going to be continuing. We've had 3 fires in a row, and, you know, extraordinary steps must be taken to mitigate the ongoing and recurring risks that high fuel loads pose to our community. And Becky, we can add Becky on there too as well. She's the chair of the public safety. And the letter is also going to the Assemblywoman and the state senator and to Councilman John Lee. So
Thank
that's
you, Jason. You want to make the motion so we can open it up to discussion?
all right. I'll make a motion to approve the attached letter on the PRNC letterhead with the addition of Becky Levesque as a signatory.
Thank you. I'll second that. Gabriel? Comments, Brandy?
I want to move to amend. There's a couple of things on here. So let me first off make it entirely clear. I am 100% behind the goal and intent of this letter. There's like a missing word, for example, in the third paragraph. It says, additionally, the Adopt a Highway program has utilized by 1 our amazing community members. So there's a missing word in there. But also a little bit of social engineering. The beginning of the third paragraph says Porter Ranch has one of the highest tax bases in the city of Los Angeles, so our residents are paying significant amounts of taxes in comparison. So the people who physically get this letter and decide where this letter goes and whose eyes get on this letter might not live in one of the highest tax bases. And that phrasing is sometimes received as somebody saying, I'm rich and therefore deserve better. And that doesn't really get perceived well by some people. So I would highly advocate that we just simply remove that sentence, because the rest of it is so solid and makes the case. It doesn't really need that extra piece that might actually work against getting the letter where it needs to go. So I would recommend removing that sentence and then changing the grammar on the second one to fix that missing word. But otherwise, I am 100% in favor of what you are doing.
Well, that point was Becky's point. So Becky, what do you say?
Oh, you're muted, sweetie.
Kind of agree with Brandy. I think it's a little makes us look like we're better than other people. Probably be good to take it out.
Okay, so that's fine by me.
Otherwise, great job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Let's see. Any more? I know Assad has his hand. Any more board members first? All right, Assad, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Well, we all know Caltrans is a very big entity taking care of all California. Historically, it's a matter of identifying the correct person to talk to. I mean, when we had issues with the Amigo Rinaldi, I went through a couple of phone calls. I went through a cycle of a whole 10 days, making from one end to the other until I allocated the resident engineer and addressed the community concerns on the design. Same thing here. Your letter should show, rather than the way it's presented, it should show where you have called, what efforts you tried, and where it failed. Just on a remark here, Caltrans is in the process of hiring a lot of the engineers and the resources and the admin that they had to let go a couple years ago. And I know by January, they will have a lot of new people to take care of business. So maybe at this stage, try to make more phone calls and figure out where this is failing, rather than sending it somewhere without, just to the building. You need a name tagged with the building. You need the deputy in charge of the brush fire. And I can help you with names and all that if you need names, but the way it is just going like that, like Brandy mentioned, is probably going to end somewhere rotating for several weeks until it really ends with the exact person it should go to. My recommendation is make more phone calls. Have John Lee's office and Suzette's office make more phone calls and get to it. That's my recommendation.
Thank you, Assad. I see Anthony has his hand up. Anthony, floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can jump in here just on Assad's point, I do want to be very clear that is something that our office can and will do. We will identify who this letter should go to, and I think we already have, and pass it off. So one of the benefits of the state office is that we are the liaison to every state agency, and we have direct contacts from the DMV to the EDD. So if you ever need a workaround for a state agency, you can always go through your state elected officials. So I've already sort of done that. I did that this morning, trying to identify the right person to get this in front of. And we are definitely, as soon as this is complete, we'll move forward with that, and I'll see if we can get some action on it. But yeah, I mean, if there's one thing I love to do, it's to yell at the government. So
Thank you, Anthony. I do see, let me see. Becky?
I just wanted to say, I agree with Anthony, and there's an old saying, if everybody's in charge, nobody's in charge. And I think that we need to have somebody responsible rather than the whole district. So I think we can rework this and maybe bring it back at our next meeting. Is that open, Jason? What do you think? Find out who to address it to. And
Well, Anthony already said he's going to make sure it gets in front of the person. And, I mean, if I don't see any reason we need to, we already got the changes here. And there's a name here, Maria Raptis, but that's the point. When a letter comes into an office and it's supposed to get forwarded to somebody, I took the time to write this letter, and now
it's a great letter.
For me to now you want me to go and call around Caltrans like 10 different people. I mean, I'm trying to help the community here with this letter.
I thought Anthony said that he was going to get us the name. That's all we're asking for.
So the letter is going to their office. It's right here on the bottom, Assemblywoman Valladares. So, our job is to bring the issues to the elected officials, and they're assisting us and the community in getting this. My job is not to, figure out who's running what. I mean, have you tried, calling Caltrans, it's like, that's why I would ask for, like I was saying before, a point of contact, which essentially they're saying that Anthony is our point of contact, and he finds out who this goes to. But if there's somebody who we can send this directly to, but typically things like this come in and then they get distributed to the appropriate person based on what the content of the letter is.
I'll tell you, my point of contact is Maria Raptis, the governmental affairs director. But it would be a lot better coming from this office, especially maybe with a note from the Assemblywoman saying, by the way, this has my support, so please, let's see some action here.
So what do you think should be the best way? I mean, this is kind of the content of it. Do you think, what do you think would be the best approach here?
Put it on letterhead, send it over to me. I will send it to and the Assemblywoman will say, this looks great, forward it, and then Maria will get it, and it'll come from the Assemblywoman directly, and it'll come.
So take off Caltrans here.
No, that's fine, and you should mail it to them too.
Okay,
just for the paper trail.
So as is, it's fine. It's coming. So going to Caltrans, it's going to you guys, John Lee's office, and Senator Stern's office.
All of that is great too, and maybe we can even call Senator Stern's office and say, what is your opinion on this?
Right. Yeah, we want to. I'm sure we'll get the support, and that's the purpose, is getting the support on all levels. We got to get the ball rolling on this thing. That's it. That's the way I feel. I mean, I have a limited amount of time I can dedicate to these things, and this is basically passing it off to the powers that be.
With the amendments that you've made, I'm sure that it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
I got Brandy, and then I have 3 stakeholders, and then we can call a vote. Brandy, floor is yours.
I was just gonna say, if we don't get any action or response or anything off of this that's satisfactory in the next 1 or 2 months, we can always send another letter, because this is an important issue that we need to maybe keep thumping on until they do it.
Thank you, Randy. Let's move on to the attendees. I have three comments. I got Assad first, Glenn, and then Ron, and then we'll call the vote. Assad, floor is yours.
Oh, I just forgot to lower my hand. I already made my comment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And then Glenn Bailey, floor is yours.
Thank you, Glenn Bailey, speaking as an individual, although that may change depending on the answer. Can you scroll up towards the top, please, of the letter? Thank you. First of all, is the done rep on? You're done, NEA?
Oh,
Okay, so I would be remiss in not reminding folks that all of us neighborhood councils per the city ordinance are restricted to communicating our opinions to the city entities. I know there's a way of doing that, by directing it to the mayor, the city council, etc., with copies to the appropriate parties. But anyway, that's not my main comment. My main comment is this first paragraph is really misleading because it says within the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council area between Porter Ranch Drive exit and Balboa. Well, your boundary ends at Aliso Creek. Balboa is Granada Hills North, Granada Hills South, and the 118 Northridge east of Reseda. And frankly, I've seen overgrowth. In fact, there's been a fire at the just before the DeSoto off-ramp. I realize that little chunk of that off-ramp is Chatsworth Neighborhood Council, but before you get there, it's Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council on the north side. So frankly, in terms of the defining Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council area, it'd be closer to say between DeSoto and, Aliso Canyon, or, some street that's nearby. Number two, I would recommend that you specify if you're focusing on the north side of the freeway, specifically if that's your top priority, which is within your boundaries, and there's others that have the south side, because I don't think, and by describing it from going to Porter Ranch Drive and then going east, that you're on the south side, when you describe it that way, and you don't otherwise specify in the letter that I've seen. I've only seen it on the screen. Sorry, I didn't research it. You're not making it clear to folks who probably have no idea, who've probably never been here, that you want to, if is my understanding, you do want to focus on the north side, because the fires have been, they've been all.
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
This problem
that I've heard
all
you guys
over.
speak about, and I've seen the burned areas, at DeSoto too. So
It's all
anyway,
over.
those are okay. Jason, I just wanted to give you my perspective on the letter, and that is how if I was someone who wasn't familiar with the area, those would be the questions that I would raise. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Basically, Glenn, you're saying this letter should say Porter Ranch Drive to Aliso Canyon, and instead of saying all the way to Balboa, an abbreviation. Is that what you're going for?
Actually, what I said is I would go further west than Porter Ranch Drive, because I've noticed even that new signage that's west of Porter Ranch Drive that there's overgrowth and the vegetation, and I've seen the charred fires, further west of Mason. So that's what I was suggesting.
What Caltrans, they locate things in terms of off ramps or overpasses, and it's all over. Yeah, you could go all the way to Topanga, but
But Mason is ours. Do you think we should write DeSoto instead of Porter Ranch Drive?
I mean, I'm open to whatever, but basically, like they locate things in terms of off ramps, overpasses. When you say Aliso Canyon, this is telling them exactly the area And it's not just the north side too. I mean, it's all over, you know, it's
No,
all
I
over.
appreciate that, and let's enlist all of us to deal. Let's enlist the folks
Yeah.
on the south side to support your efforts. Appreciate that. But
Yeah,
there
I
is a
mean-
bridge at Chimeneas Avenue, which is really darn close to the Aliso. That would be the closest overpass to the boundary. Just
I mean, would it be nice to see them just do the whole, you know, 118? You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Snyder-
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd like him to do the
So
whole stretch.
why
Because you're
limit it?
saying the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council area. That's why it's, I'm
Yeah.
just, that's my comment. It just sounds
Gotcha.
misleading when you put it all the way to Balboa. You could say your area and then say, in addition, you know, there's a need all the way to Balboa.
Yeah.
And there's a need all the way to Topanga, or whatever
Right.
you want to say. All right, thanks.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's a good
That
comment.
makes sense. So put our deadline, put our boundaries in there then. From, you could write DeSoto to Reseda and exceeds both directions, something like that.
Yeah, just give me the wording and I'll amend it. That's fine.
Along with 118 Riverway, namely between DeSoto exit and Reseda exit. And
And
further-
beyond Reseda.
Yeah, and then, well, our border ends at Reseda, doesn't it?
No, it goes,
No, a little, but it's right around that Reseda. And I would say afterwards, further extending to other neighborhood council territories off the 118 freeway, something similar to that.
between DeSoto and, I mean, that's why I just put Balboa, because it's basically, you know, maybe we could just take out the council area part.
Yeah, if we take out Port Ranch neighborhood council area, that might solve the problem.
Yeah, because I mean, I get what Glenn is saying. It is, I think I just get in the habit of saying that all the time.
Right.
So if we say maybe we just take out the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council area. So let's say, and then maybe we're just gonna say, let's see, which is persists along the 118 freeway. Namely between, yeah.
DeSoto and Balboa, I would write at that point.
So we could remove, I mean, it's gonna be on our letterhead anyways, right? So we'll remove the PR neighborhood council area. And then we'll just say, which have persisted along the 118 freeway. And then what do you think we should say here?
Between Topanga or DeSoto to Balboa, which one?
Between DeSoto, well, Topanga's pretty far, that's Chatsworth. So
DeSoto and Balboa.
yeah, between DeSoto and Balboa, okay, all right.
Is that fair, Glenn?
I mean, that's
it addresses my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, so we'll remove the Porter Ranch, where it says Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council area, that'll be removed. And we'll just keep it namely between DeSoto and Balboa. So the point being that it gives them an area to look for. When they send somebody out, they're gonna be going, oh, okay.
Right,
This is
and
the area.
then if you want to say both sides of the freeway, or if you want to focus on north side, you might want to make that clear too.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of left it out because I think it is both sides, and the north side is, you know, but we're gonna also attach the letter from View Ridge Townhomes, which is gonna point out, you know, where that is located at. So, you know, the point is that they need to go out there and have a look at it and then assess the situation and do their job, you know, bottom line.
I think Becky has a question, real quick.
Oh, just if we're gonna go all the way to Balboa, maybe we should start at Topanga, which is, you know, the last off ramp before you get into Simi Valley, which is in LA, you know, in our area. Just a suggestion.
I think Topanga is, you know, that's Chatsworth. You know, I think that, you know, we want to leave that.
But Balboa is not in our area either. So
I know, but it's
kind of a.
It's because you,
That's fine.
yeah,
Just-
they go
just
based off
check it.
exits. So like, yeah, not all the way to Balboa, but like before you get to Balboa, that's our area.
Well, the
you
whole
know.
freeway is a mess, not just ours,
Yeah.
but
So
I know what you're saying.
let's just focus on like this one area between DeSoto and Balboa, and perhaps, you know, other neighborhood councils will follow suit and, you know, do something similar in their areas. But it's really bad in between those Balboa and DeSoto. So I would say that it's not nearly as bad. And anyways, all right.
Thank you. I got Ron, the guy with a question or comment, and then we can make the new motion with the amended changes and move forward. Ron, floor is yours.
Hi, I have two questions. We mentioned the Adopt a Highway. My first question is, who is the nonprofit or donor for that segment of the freeway under the Adopt a Highway program?
It's Jill Mather has adopted between Balboa and Tampa. So she's
Okay,
out there.
yeah, the only reason I asked the question is if that person has in fact continued their donation, that
It's
would
not
be
a donation, Ron. It's a
it's a fee.
no, they volunteer. They go out there and they pick up trash.
Well, no, they can also pay a fee, and that goes to Caltrans. So if there is a fee involved that person is paying, then Caltrans is not spending that money on that area. That's my only question. Second thing is on the wall. Has this a wall ever been introduced in the counties, the transportation committees call for projects?
This does not pertain to the wall. That was the previous letter.
But I'm just bringing that up also on the wall. If we're not on the MTA call for projects, you're never going to see that wall. And you've got the mayor and the county board of supervisors controlling the majority of the seats on there. So if
That's
the
the
mayor,
MTA. The MTA controls that. This letter that's not pertinent to this letter. This letter is going to Caltrans.
okay, but
The
I'm just
wall
saying,
is the MTA.
yeah, I'm just saying the MTA allocates the money, and it won't be the MTA, I don't believe, is going to build that wall. They're going to allocate the money and Caltrans will build that wall. But I'm just saying
that was the previous letter, Ron. The previous letter, and that's a battle that Susan is taking on.
okay, well, I'm just asking a question, okay? I'm just asking, has this ever been introduced as a call for projects?
I have no idea. Susan
Okay,
has
well,
her hand raised.
If not, that's why you've never seen any funds on this thing. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ron. Susan, floor is yours.
Yes, again, thank you very much. Great letter. Thank you very much. Yes, yeah, there is a wall project and we are on it and there are phases of it. They're just not building it. It's sitting somewhere in the assembly. Who knows where it is? But yes, it's all been done. So we just want the freeway cleaned up at this point. Anything we can get, we'll be thrilled, just thrilled. And thank you guys. You're great. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Susan. I saw Becky rose her hand and put it down. Do you want to add something before?
Yeah, I just, you know, Jill Mather does a great job, and Jason, you alongside of her, you know, cleaning up a lot of the debris that's along this freeway. I have a question. What is Jill's nonprofit? I saw her sign on the freeway. It says Jill Mather and Friends. What is the name of her nonprofit?
It's Volunteers Cleaning Communities.
Okay, thank you.
VCC.
Jason, you want to make the amended motion with a couple of changes so we can?
Yeah. So I'm assuming the note taker, you got the changes, but I'll just go through them quickly. If you have any issues, just stop me. But the word bin is BEN is going to be added to the paragraph where was it? Bin, let's see, where was it, Brandy?
Third paragraph, second sentence.
Okay, here, paragraph 3, second sentence, and then we're going to remove the entire sentence regarding the tax base, that's the third paragraph, first
First
sentence.
sentence, yeah. So do them in that order, otherwise the second sentence will be the wrong sentence.
And then have identified who it goes to. I wrote here.
Also the exits or Port Ranch Drive, sorry, the Port.
Oh,
Ranch.
that was Glenn's comment. That's not an. Yeah, so we're gonna remove the Porter Ranch, the words Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council area here in the first sentence. And then we're going to amend it to say between DeSoto and Balboa.
Great job.
And
Thank
that's
you.
it.
I'll second that motion again. And ready to call vote. David Lasher,
Yes.
thank you. David Valen is absent. Hilda,
Yes.
thank you. Jason,
Yes.
thank you. Lewis is absent. Becky,
Yes.
thank you. Brandy,
Yes.
Jennifer. Jennifer. We'll put her down as,
Maybe come back to her.
okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Voss recused himself. Christine,
Yes.
thank you. Gabriel, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yeses. 2 absent, 1 recused. Motion passes. Thank you, Jason. If you could send me the final letter so I can put it on all the letterheads and everything, I appreciate it.
Yep.
Somebody needs to tell poor Bossy.
And just moving forward, let's try and post all these letters on our website, okay? Under letters.
Copy that. Last one we did already.
Good.
So we can just do that as well. Not a
Yeah,
problem.
exactly.
Thank you. Next item is motion to approve October 13th, 2021 draft minutes. We had one board member that wants us to table that. It's up to the board if we want to move forward with voting on this item or not. There were changes made by David Lasher that were already changed on the minutes, reflecting the minutes, which I can show in a minute. But before we do that, would you guys want to vote today or should I postpone it till next week?
I'm for table.
Okay, I'm pulling up the minutes. Here.
I can.
Okay. You want to tell me where the changes are?
It is on page 2. It's the yellow highlighted already.
Oh, you did. Okay. Oh, thank you for doing that. Oh, I got you.
You
So
found
this
it?
is like
There you
the
go.
rewritten version here.
Yes, that's the rewritten version.
Got it. Okay.
And then David Balin wants to make changes, but he never told us what changes.
Mhm. I mean, I'm okay with, I don't think we have anything urgent to, you know, I'm okay with postponing them. I think it's important to get them right. But
Thank you. I see Anthony has his hand. Anthony, floor is yours.
Sorry, just wanted to say I'm leaving. I'm signing off now, but thank you for having me.
hey,
Thank
we
you.
really appreciate you, Anthony. Thank you so much. And let's hope for the best here with council.
Absolutely. And please share my information with
Will
anybody.
do. Will do. Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Take care, Anthony.
Thank you
night.
again.
Happy holidays.
Hey, Gabriel,
Yes, sir.
I don't oppose tabling it for other members, especially because they did me the courtesy. The highlighted text totally encapsulates what I was trying to get across. I appreciate the revision. The whole point was it was never about like my house. It was about hundreds of homes are affected by this. And I appreciate the rewrite. Thank you.
Thank you. So should we vote on it today or the 8th?
Okay.
Today?
8th.
Yes, Randy.
I think that we should let people get their changes in.
He could have also sent it to us too, but
Well, I don't know what the changes are.
We always do it before, everybody lets ahead of time.
okay, let's do this then. I'll make the motion. If we have a second, we can move forward. If anybody wants to postpone it, we could take a vote from there.
I think if there's like changes after we vote on something, so if we approve these minutes and then there's changes later, then we would have to put it back on the agenda and reconsider the item.
Exactly.
I don't see much with David's name in here.
I don't either.
Was David at that meeting?
Yeah,
Let's see.
yes, he was.
David
yeah.
Balin is what I'm asking.
Here it is, number 3, roll call.
Yes. At the end of the day, it's up to the complete board if we want to table this and move forward.
Is the motion on the floor?
I
No.
I made the motion. I don't have a second yet.
What? What motion specifically?
This is for a motion to approve October 13th, 2021 draft minutes.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Let's see. Now let's hear, I'm open if anybody has any comments, panelists.
Well, Gabe, I would say that, someone did me the courtesy of love to tabling it to make the corrections, and we can't, I don't think I've missed a meeting in a long time, but not everybody can make all the meetings, and out of courtesy to him and to others that have made me the same consideration, I would support tabling it. I don't see how it's good. There's something urgent about it. It's just the minutes.
Thank you. Brandy?
Made minutes always felt like a main board meeting thing, and so the fact that there's been a request on top of that, I would just rather table it than do it a special when there's contention.
Thank you. Any other comments?
If it's been seconded, don't we have to call for a vote?
We don't have to, I can kill the vote. I can kill the motion.
Yeah, move to table doesn't even require a second, so.
Any other comments?
Yeah, well, this is a special meeting, so, this could go to the next general board meeting, and there's nothing pressing about this approval. And, really, it shouldn't be a big thing either way. It shouldn't be something where we're dividing ourselves over approving minutes. It's something so trivial that, what is the great advantage that you're getting by approving it today? It's the same thing. And then if there's something that didn't get changed, then we have to bring it up again, so it's like, I don't know.
Then I'll move forward to tabling the motion until the December 8th meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next item, which is the last item of the day, which is Jason, cheers.
So yeah, the park grant got approved. Yay. So that was a lot of work, all that paperwork, but the grant is approved, and I need to get a letter from the general manager at Rex and Parks. And just so everybody knows, the grant is for repainting the trash cans, either green or doing something artistic. It's for the dog waste bag holders at the entrances to the parks. And it's also for repairing benches or potentially putting in benches for people to rest along the trail as you're hiking through Limekiln Canyon. So we have the 3 main parks in our area: Wilbur Tampa, Limekiln Canyon, and Aliso Canyon Park. So we have had over 20 plus people who volunteered, and we're moving right along. It's going to the Board of Public Works for a final vote, just more of a formality, but I was on the meeting and watched the recording, so I'm pretty clear on the process, but there's still some more paperwork to do. We did get the letter of support from John Lee's office, so that's helpful, and then we just need the letter from the general manager of Rex and Parks, since this is all being done in the park.
Thank you, Jason.
That's pretty much it.
Thank you for all the hard work, Jason, on this whole project. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we did.
Any other comments? All right, The next meeting is on December 8th. And let's adjourn the meeting at 8:46 PM without any objection.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Good job, Jason, on the grant thing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Take care. Have a wonderful
Good
evening.
night.
Good meeting.
Night all.
Everyone stay
Bye-bye.
safe.
In December.
Thank you. Thank you.